what are some basic tips, both mentally, from a hokey elephant point of view and from a just practical body point of view?
Yeah, I think, tips for me. So when I'm out, everybody asks, what do you do when things are hurting so bad or you're just in a bad spot in a race? I'm like 70 miles into a race. Feels like I want to quit. I have those same feelings, just like somebody who's out for their, 3-mile run. And like at mile 1, they're like, gosh, this isn't happening.
That's more like me, yeah.
So for me, what helps is I try to focus on things that'll kind of bring me into the present moment, because if 50 miles into a race, that's 150 miles long. If I'm thinking like I have 100 miles to go, it's like game over. So getting back to the present moment, things that help are breath. And I try not to get complicated. Like some people try to focus on 3 inhale counts and, 7 exhale counts, things like that. Sometimes when you're running, it's just too much to focus on. So I just try to people
you can do to just breathe.
Yeah, all you can do is focus on breathing. And I tell people just focus on that. Focus on taking air in. Sometimes breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth is helpful, because naturally you use your diaphragm instead.
I find that really hard. I've tried that.
Yeah, when you're working hard up a hill, it gets hard to everybody wants to turn into a mouth breather, which is perfectly fine. But sometimes when you're in that mode where you're like, okay, I'm just kind of in a rut here. You're not moving fast. You're just kind of like, okay, I got to get moving again.
That's just a different.
Yeah, you're able to breathe through your nose. But even just focusing on your breath and try not to think of anything else. I think that's where meditation comes in. That's, a lot of meditation has focused on breath because it's one simple way to get into the present moment, if you find your mind drifting. So if you find your mind drifting, like in the run, and you're thinking, I have still 100 miles to go, just focusing on the breath can be key. I focus on movement too and technique. So you can get really complicated of like, oh yeah, something, say you do something with your leg that has been picked apart before, say a physical therapist or a running buddy has told you, hey, you shouldn't be swinging your leg like that. Try to focus on that movement. Or if you're somebody who's perfect form, you're lucky enough, which I'm not even able to do it. But if you find yourself,
I have pretty much perfect form.
Okay, so if you have perfect form, I would say just focus on making that even more perfect. For a lot of people, we all tend to adopt the postures throughout the day. Like we tend to just hang on our body, so we round the shoulders, head goes forward, and basically round the back, and so we end up in this kind of position because that's how we sit in front of steering wheels, computers. So
you're like this.
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody thinks like, oh, when I'm really struggling, we kind of get into that mode. So really what you want to do is open up. Imagine you've got somebody pulling you up from the head, by a string, and lengthening the body and just getting out of that position of, rounded shoulders.
But also relaxed, right?
Yeah, you don't want to be like really tight. So you want to learn how to be able to relax, but think of being tall versus hanging on your body.
And you also went through, there's the opposite tendency, like the chariots of fire.
Yeah, you can overcorrect, much like, this is incorrect, this is overcorrecting and being really stiff and really arched. So you really want to think, this is another simple thing everybody can do, even those that have perfect form, is running is basically controlled falling. So you just want to essentially think of your pelvis where most of our weight, this is where our center of mass is, basically our pelvis, lower torso, basically thighs. That area is where we have most of our weight. Think of that kind of just falling, on the trail. Running is controlled falling. So whether you're on the trail, on the road, try not to fight the movement. Again, we were just talking about that. Just, let things kind of flow and just let the body, fall down the trail.
But that's sort of, I know it's sort of popular among runners, and a lot of runners will already know all this, maybe. But, the way we all were taught to run, basically, was like have really comfortable sneakers. We basically were all heel strikers, right?
Sure.
Which, like some people who taught me natural running were like, basically you're like pushing yourself back or braking with every step.
Exactly.
And it's hard on your knees, right?
Definitely.
So you do that, like good posture, but falling forward.
Yep, falling forward and bring your butt with you too. Doing? So like, as far as the feet, your feet really should just be landing underneath your center of mass. So that's why you don't want to, heel strike, except if you're on a really steep downhill. Much like, you don't want to be way up on your toes. And again, it's balance. It's like finding that middle point. Yeah. And if you are upright and if you're falling with your body, naturally your legs are going to want to catch you. And that's where, running, everybody thinks it's hard on your knees. When the muscles are working properly and you're landing not too far out or not pushing too far behind, you're just spinning underneath your center of mass, basically your torso. So really, again, I think that's helpful for a lot of people is just think of your legs kind of spinning underneath you and just kind of catching you and propelling you. Yeah, exactly. Roadrunner style.
So I found the natural running thing really helped me, and it, I just kind of fell for it, had good posture, was tried to be present, breath, like all of it. I'm not a good runner, so it's painful for my lungs, but it was all pretty easy. The one thing I run into a lot, I don't know if others do, maybe because I never run really, is my calf muscles with the natural running kind of explode. I think they like triple in size, and then they're painful.
Yeah.
I think maybe because I'm putting a lot of...
You're almost maybe too far forward on the foot. And that's where, a lot of people, read the stuff, whether it's T running, natural running, Feldenkrais method, the Alexander technique. They all have their place, but a lot of times people over-exaggerate and land, all the way up on the ball of the foot. And really, I was trying to
that's what I'm doing.
People think about more midfoot, because you're right. The further forward you land, the more stressful it is on the
I think I'm totally on the ball of my foot.
Yeah. So if you kind of maybe bring it back a little bit, again, it's finding that midpoint. Not too far forward on the heel, not too, far back on the heel, and then forward on the foot.
Cool. So I'm here with Scott Jurek, super famous ultra marathoner, champion, and plant-based vegan style guy. So we are going to go over some basic tips for enjoying running. First of all, you regard food as fuel. You talk a lot about that. So take us through like your daily diet and what we could learn from that.
Yeah, I think because a lot of people assume that, being vegan and like eating this way takes a lot of work. I mean, some people say, "Oh, Scott, you must cook a lot." And I do spend a lot of time in the kitchen. I love being involved in that process. Maybe it's having a home ec teacher as a mom.
Well, and you grew up hunting and
hunting and fishing and basically doing all of that stuff. But you don't have to do that. In fact, lately I've been trying not to. Like when I travel, I don't pack all my bowls of food and stuff like that. Yeah. I actually try to be a modern, hunter and gatherer in the airports, and because I want to see if it's possible other people are going to have the same issues, if they're not going to cook, can they really do it? So the biggest thing I would recommend is on the protein front, because usually carbohydrate and fat, it's not hard to find good sources of fat and basically carbohydrate. Fruits and vegetables, obviously, getting your starches, whether it's coming from grains, bread, potatoes, things like that, pretty easy to find. I've even eaten a steakhouse in a pinch, where I was somewhere where that was the only option. So it's you get the potato, you get the baked potato, you get the vegetables. The protein is the big issue. So this is where definitely packing some protein powder is really key. So if you're traveling, or you're somebody who's lazy, who's never going to cook a meal at home, you gotta think about whether it's having the beans and the grains. You've got to have that combination, or you got to have the soy product, have some tofu, tempeh, or protein powder. And my go-to is brown rice and pea protein. So combining those two, and then nuts and seeds have a lesser amount of protein, and then there are some foods like some vegetables have some protein, but you really got to think about where you're getting the most density of protein.
And walnuts have good oil. You have to think about oils a bit too.
Yeah, essential fatty acids or something. If you're eating heavily processed food, you're probably getting the oils and fats that aren't as good for you. Definitely you want to avoid lots of polyunsaturated oils, but of course the hydrogenated oils, which are the worst. Yeah. But for me, olive oil, almond butter, nut butters of any type for the most part, some peanut butter, but I prefer
Justin's nut butter.
Yeah. Yeah. So I prefer more the almond butter, sunflower seed butter I've been experimenting. But that's the thing too, is
almond's amazing, right?
Yeah, opening your eyes. For me, that's the thing about going vegan, was wow, there's all these other foods that I haven't been incorporating. Right. So you just have to start expanding the horizons. I tell people, think about integration rather than elimination. So many times people go somewhere okay, I can't eat X, Y, and Z. Right. I try to look at it as I can eat A, B, and C. So think about the things that you can eat and focus on that, because if you go to a salad bar and think you're going to get enough protein, unless they have some garbanzo beans or some kidney beans.
Often you can. It's good.
Yeah, it's usually pretty good. So you just got to seek those sources. Yeah. So I think the protein, healthy fats are key, healthy carbohydrates are key. But if you're combining fruits and vegetables, and then it really comes down to the protein issue of finding it. But it's easy to get 60, 70 grams of protein on a vegan diet in a day. And I mean, I'm definitely a living testament to that. I'm not like withering away. And there are power sport athletes out there who are doing it. So it's really about...
And even though you're not like a weightlifter, as you've said, you're tearing apart your you need more protein than almost anybody.
I mean, I'm doing long, extended endurance activity.
Even if
which,
you aren't, you know, like...
And downhill, so yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't know we were going to do something that accessible. If it's super not cooking or anything like that, like I'm kind of an expert in being a vegan non-cook. Yeah. So basically all you have to do is eat vegan nachos all the time because I love spicy food and there's beans.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as hard as people think, but if you're going to go and try and eat, and go ethnic too. I mean, especially when I'm traveling.
Especially in Boulder.
you gotta definitely go, you gotta go for the burrito, making sure you get the beans and the rice.
Like Chipotle is awesome.
Yeah.
Just simple burrito, Mexican. Yeah.
It's definitely a good option. Like you can always find a burrito. The other thing too is going Asian, you know, whether it's Japanese, Chinese, you can usually find good options that have soy, so you're getting your protein, and then of course you're getting plenty of, you know, carbohydrate as well as hopefully healthy fats. They're using oil.
Just don't go North Korean.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just walk us very simply and succinctly through breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the Jurek household.
So usually morning, I'm a big like greens fan in the morning. Either I have some type of barley grass juice drink or a combination of mix. I've been using Scoop lately, A-Game, which is a real cool combination. So that usually is something I start my morning off with. Then it's usually a smoothie. So I'm incorporating everything from, you know, fruit to even greens, so I throw some kale in there. I'm a big Vitamix fan, so blend that all up.
I know healthy people love that stuff, but let me ask you a dumb question.
Yeah.
Why do you blend it all up instead of just eating it?
So from an athlete standpoint, for me it's maximizing like calories. So if I have to chew and I get, you know, basically I'm burning more calories than what I'm chewing.
But from an American standpoint, maybe maximizing calories isn't a great thing. Right?
Yeah, well that's the balance. Like I'm trying to sometimes pack in 5,000 calories, you know, trying to replace what I lost, say, on big weekend runs. So for me, that smoothie, obviously I'm going to have a bigger glass and a denser smoothie. I'm going to pour in, you know, the Udo's oil and, you know, coconut, put in flakes of coconut, maybe some hemp seeds.
How many calories would an average person your size be eating if they weren't
if they weren't running as much and just average, I mean, 2,500 calories, you know, it's like half.
So you're eating a lot.
So eating a lot. So like a smoothie just is a way for me to kind of combine. You know, some people aren't. Some people would just rather, you know, slice up. And I definitely do a few pieces of fruit without, you know, blending them. I usually like some type of grain, so whether it's, you know, like an oatmeal or a grain porridge. Also, I like to do sprouted grain bread. So again, high protein, great to put some almond butter on there, get some healthy fats.
And the sprouted is good because of what?
Well, it releases, basically it releases the enzymes and starts that kind of germination process. And it's higher protein.
It's more German.
You know? Exactly. Yeah. And that's key as far as just getting, you know, again, the carbohydrate, getting the healthy fats, getting the protein. The smoothie also is a vehicle for getting my protein. So I use a protein powder. That would be brown rice, or it's a combination of brown rice and pea protein.
Wow.
So that's kind of like breakfast. And then lunch is usually some type of big green salad. So whether it's like a dark leafy green like kale or arugula, throw in some healthy fats, olives, avocados, olive oil, and of course, and lots of veggies from tomatoes. Usually a protein source like tofu or tempeh, or if I go, you know, maybe I'm making some type of Mexican, south of the border type cuisine, doing some type of burrito, again, grains or corn tortillas. So like you're getting that combination of amino acids, or doing like a tempeh or tofu type thing. And that's the same thing with dinner. I mean, really, dinner and lunch aren't too much different in that lunch might be leftovers from the night before, because I think that's key. A lot of people don't. For some reason, I think people are used to eating something different every day. And in my household, we always ate a lot of leftovers because my mom would make something really big, and we'd eat that for a few days, you know, for lunches.
People always think, oh, cooking takes so much time, but if you make big bulk like chili or something, you're good for a while.
Exactly, and those are lunches. So that's kind of where, you know, the dinner from the previous day becomes kind of lunch. So really lunch and dinner are quite similar in that it usually centers around some protein or a combination of grains.
My stomach is literally rumbling right now.
It's lunchtime. I'm hungry too.
I'm getting hungry. Yeah. Scott Jurek, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. 5,000 calorie man.
this.
No, I love that. That was
Dude,
funny.
the intro is perfect.
I love that. No, I like that.
I didn't know you were kidding. I didn't know. Yeah, I was gonna say.
No, we're
you
good.
wanted it to be
just
goofy?
say. So we're gonna talk.
We're
about
fine.
You did fine on the
We're
intro.
fine.
I'll just say like I'll just start with like.
I like all this.
Okay,
I'm still liking this. I don't want any of it cut.
All right.